Now, in our previous lesson, the previous part, first part, we discussed about the entire process of rusting, the main factors which support rusting, that is the presence of oxygen and the moisture. We now want to look at advantages of rusting. I'm sure you might be wondering, really, teacher, do we really have an advantage of rusting? Because now, when you look at rusting, we normally look at it from the negative perspective. But today, I want us to look at the possibilities of this particular rusting being an advantage to us. To start with, the process of rusting or the corrosion of iron normally gets rid of the waste scrap metals, which are made of iron within the environment. These particular scrap metals, which are rusting, normally make the environment to appear very dirty and unpleasant. I don't know how many of us would want to go to a place where we have so many scrap metals which are rusting, and you want to go and have some relaxation there. You want to have an outing, and you are going to an area where we have a lot of rusting taking place. Definitely, it is not a scene that one can be able to admire to be. So, the rusting process actually will slowly destroy these particular scrap metals within the environment, and as it does so, it clears off the environment the dirt materials made from the rusting iron scrap metals, and that way it leaves the environment very wonderful to be able to be visited. Now, this process also enriches the soil by releasing the iron into the soil. Look at that. That when the iron is rusting, remember, it is decomposing, it is getting destroyed. But in the process of being worn out, the iron formed does not disappear to the atmosphere. It is washed to the soil where it sinks to the bottom. Once it gets into the soil, then the plants can be able to access this particular iron. So in a nutshell, when rusting is taking place, definitely the soil within that environment where rusting is taking place will be very rich. Try moving around, look at the scrap metals where they're found, then you discover that if there is any plant material growing in that particular environment, the plant material growing in that particular section will be very healthy, with very wonderful leaves and very strong stems. Why? They are getting adequate supplies of iron from the scrap metal. Now, the iron obtained in that particular manner can then be used in the formation of chlorophyll. And remember, chlorophyll is the pigment that's found in the plants which traps sunlight energy that is used during photosynthesis. So you can see that there is a direct linkage between chemistry and biology. That when the corrosion is taking place in chemistry, the plants are benefiting biologically. That the plants can be able to get this iron, make their chlorophyll, then use the chlorophyll to make their food. That's why the plants appear very healthy in a place where they have rusting taking place. Those are the main advantages of rusting or the process of rusting. Now, anything that has advantages definitely must have at least some disadvantages. And I'm sure if I were to ask some of us here, what are some of the disadvantages of rusting, the hands will be up almost immediately. Let's look at them. One, rusting normally leads to the destruction of the useful metallic substances which are made from iron. It is not a process you will admire if it happens to something that you like most. For example, when a vehicle body rusts, a railway line rusts, the bridges, and maybe the bodies of the ships. How many of us here would want to travel in a vehicle which is rusting? You can imagine you're entering the vehicle, the handles are rusted, the entire body of the vehicle is rusted. I mean, it's quite unpleasant a sight to be able to see. So in such kind of a case then, it means that that destruction in itself is a disadvantage to the owner of the vehicle. Same thing happens to the relay lines, and also the bridges. When bridges, for example, rust, they can easily collapse. We have seen some bridges collapsing across the world, and that is because of the process of rusting. Same thing to the ships. We have seen a number of times when our ferries, for example, have collapsed, failing to be able to do a few things here and there, probably because of the failing engine. And if you go deeper into the engine, you'll find some places where rusting could be taking place. Now, the rusting can also, process can also lead to the contamination of water bodies, especially if these particular materials are left to go to the water bodies. Now, this happens mostly if rusting takes place closer to a water body, or rusting takes place and then the rain comes and washes away the surface which is rusting. So it means that all the materials coming from the rusting surface will be washed into the water body. And if some aquatic organisms take this particular water, then they might experience some health problems into the body, because now this is a raw metal getting into the body. So it can contaminate the water. Rusting is also a bit costly, especially in the building industry. You can imagine if you are to replace your iron sheets after every 2 months, after every 6 months, it will be very expensive to maintain. Although currently in chemistry we don't sleep, we think. Mechanisms have been developed to make sure that the roofing materials are well protected from the rusting process. We have some methods which have been developed to cushion different industries, especially the building industries, from such kind of losses. But in general, the rusting process will be a bit costly for those ones who are doing the building industries. Now, the rusting can also make the appearance of a place to be very awful, especially to the tourists who like the sites, who don't like the sites of rusting roofs, or even boarding transport vehicles which are very rusty. You can imagine you are touring a place, and then the vehicle you're using has rusted, almost every part of the vehicle is rusted. The body is rusting, the seats are rusted. Then you are going to a place, maybe the hotel you're going to occupy has roofs which are rusted. You know, it's not a very good scene to be able to attract the tourists. Maybe someone will only come once and they will never go back to the same place. That explains why most of the hotels found in the areas where tourists frequent, if you go to such areas, you will discover that the roofing materials are well protected from the rusting process. They are well taken care of. Either they have been painted, or they have used materials which can be able to undergo rusting quite easily. So that is what normally happens when the rusting takes place to the tourists, because it destroys that particular environment. Now, being a disadvantage to some of the areas of the sectors of the economy, it is good for us to be able to study how we can be able to prevent the process of rusting within the environment. Now, this can be done either through what we call oiling and greasing, and mostly oiling and greasing is done in the moving parts. When, for example, vehicles are moving, I'm sure if you have been very careful, you discover that when the vehicle goes to the garage or the petrol station, you always check for the oil. That is for the engine to be able to work effectively. It is able to reduce the friction, which can reduce wear and tear in the engines. Then it can also be reduced by painting the surfaces. If you paint the surfaces, you'll be able to do that. You have seen most of our seats, most of our tables, and all the other surfaces which are made of iron, even the windows and the gate is painted to reduce the process of rusting. We have galvanization, alloying, and coating through what we call electroplating. All these particular methods use electricity, where a more reactive substance coats a corrosive material on the surface, so that it's able to prevent it from rusting. For example, you can place zinc on the surface of iron, or you can place aluminium. Right now in the iron sheets industry, they normally combine zinc and aluminium on the surface of iron, so that it has the strength and also has the resistance to corrosion. Zinc gives the strength, iron gives the resistance to corrosion and the lightness of the iron sheet. And because the iron is inside, it will be protected from rusting. And the last three actually involve electricity, so they're a bit expensive. But the first two are physical activities. You can be able to do it yourself. You can paint, you can apply the oil or the grease, the moving parts. That is the entire discussion that is focusing on the active part of air, oxygen being the active part of air. Remember that the process of rusting takes place when it is in the presence of the iron gets into contact with the oxygen and the moisture, water vapor in the atmosphere. Thank you very much for your session. Let's engage in the Google Classroom. In case you have questions, please get in touch. Have a good day.